Hi, this is Jen Eskridge with Quiltable. Today I'm going to tell you about Quiltable's print at home pattern line. Every pattern comes with 4 instruction sheets, and after you get the hang of using the print at home patterns, you won't even need to print these. But in the beginning, here's what's included. So you have the print at home designs, kind of an overview. And then one of our more popular options, the quilt at home quilt on a long arm from the back. So you'll be standing at the back of the long arm using a laser or stylus, pointing that along the back tray, which is illustrated here. And then you also have options for printing a design, a block or edge to edge, and sewing on a home sewing machine, stationary machine, or maybe a stand-up stationary machine. And honestly, you can stitch these designs from the front of a long arm also. You would mark the design on your quilt or sew through the paper. Right now I'm going to show you how to quilt through the paper directly onto your quilt. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our pages as it shows us on page 2. So to do that, I've printed off my block. My block is a 12-inch block and is only printing on 4 pages, which is great, right? If you print like a whole cloth, it might print on 16 or 25. One thing we'll need, tape. So they're numbered. These pages come off numbered. Numbers are down here. And I'm going to lay them out. 1, 2, you guessed it, spoiler alert, 3 and 4. So all of the designs from Quiltable are made so that the pages butt up against each other and they don't overlap. So you're just going to get them right up next to each other and add some tape. For the quilt through process, you can tape right over the line. Just tape that whole thing. You can use washi tape, that is great for paper, or you can tape from the back if you prefer. Since the design is made so that it doesn't overlap, you'll notice with your home printer, the design also does not print all the way to the edges. That's totally fine though, because it's usually a very narrow amount that is not visible. And also you can eyeball it and add it back in right now. So I'll take a pen and just fill in the gap that's missing here. I don't know if you can even see that, but I'm just filling in the gap. It's a very small amount though, so as you're quilting, you could just eyeball it. You don't have to write that in. All right, and I'm gonna tape this last part here. Okay, so you'll find that this 4 sheets of paper is a bit to work with. I mean, it's a lot to push underneath the throat of your machine, whether it's a mid-arm machine or a domestic home sewing machine. Or if you're quilting from the front of your long arm, I suppose then it would be okay, but even this is just extra, and I'm just gonna cut it off with my paper scissors. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this piece of purple fabric and this smaller piece of batting is the entire quilt, okay? So I'm going to lay this on here. There'll be a backing, of course, and it's all going to be smoothed out and will probably be basted maybe with stick pins or straight pins. But now I'm going to have my block centered on the quilt and I'm going to pin it in place. So you don't want to pin through the lines because then you'll be sewing over your pins. If you pin through the lines, just be mindful that you're going to need to stop and remove the pins as you stitch. And of course, if you're using quilters basting pins that look like safety pins, the slightly curved safety pins, if you sew over those are going to be on your quilt for all eternity. So now that I have my design pinned to my quilt, I need to set up my sewing machine with a hopping foot or a darning foot or free motion foot. They're all the same thing. Or you can use a walking foot for even feed if you don't have the darning foot. So by even feed though, I mean the bottom layer, the backing, the middle, and the top are all going to be pushed underneath the needle at the same speed. So this is going to be better than just using a regular presser foot. The other thing I'll recommend to use, and I'm looking around for it, are machinger gloves. These gloves give you a little grip on the surface of your quilt as you're working. So I'm going to put these on and pick up my huge quilt and sew just the center portion. So you're going to quilt like you normally would, where you may want to pull the bobbin thread up. You may just stitch in place for a couple seconds. You may need to set your presser feet down. I'm going to start, my machine's ready to go, however you feel most comfortable. Free motion quilting. And now I can just quilt through. I'm sewing right through the paper. This is just regular paper. If you have tearaway paper or newsprint, something like that, it will probably tear away easier in just a moment when we go to remove it. So I'm just going to show you how easy it is to remove the paper in the center. So this is where you may need some tweezers. So as you fold the paper and tear along the perforation, you'll reveal the design underneath that you just stitched. And that little tug right there is where I sewed through the tape. That's okay, because the tape also tears. Washi tape, which is that paper masking tape, would probably tear easier in the event you sewed over it, quilted over it. All right. We can't wait to see what you make. Tag Quiltable Designs in all your social media posts.